The NASCAR season is right around the corner, and while we have the Clash down, a lot of people weren't really looking forward to it the way they did in years past. But for me, I think that there are 10 races that NASCAR fans who have been in the loop are really paying attention to and anticipating for 2024. So let's get right into them. First up is the Spring Kansas race. I know this is one that'll seem a little weird to those who may not be fully in the know of what NASCAR Cup racing has been, but this has been a track that has produced some of the best Cup racing of the next-gen era. Every single race with the next-gen car has been amazing at this track. And you add to the fact that last year we had an amazing finish between Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson, followed up with Chastain versus Noah Gragson, and you have a race that I don't think any NASCAR fan isn't looking forward to, which is crazy because Kansas very much was a flyover race only a few years ago. Ninth is the Southern 500, which this year is the regular season finale. And I think a lot of people, maybe some of you watching right now, are really overlooking this or overhating this. Yes, it will not have the chaos factor that the Daytona race had that ended the regular season the past 4 seasons. But what we do have is a track with excellent racing and an atmosphere unlike any other. I ask you this. Do you think Darlington produces really great and fun racing and, in turn, can bring out great moments and bad moments from drivers? I'd say yes. Last year, I was at the spring race, and they had a whale of a race and finish. Add it all up with the fact that you had the Larson versus Chastain back and forth. And you could have that for a playoff spot at the end of this year. So I really like this, and I'm looking forward to it. 8th up is the Spring Atlanta race, race number 2 on the season, and the second of 2 straight super speedways to start the regular season. I'm going to say this, every new Atlanta race gets better and better than the last, and last year, I think it was Dale Jr. who had said that if he were to take any new NASCAR fan to a NASCAR race, this would be it. There's going to be a lot of desperation early in the season, as now 2 of the super speedway races that usually could get someone maybe new into the playoffs or somebody unexpected will be up in the first 2 races, and you may even see some people who should be high in the points shuffled way down the list. 7th is the Chicago Street Course. While this race last year was definitely hit or miss when it came to the reception beforehand by NASCAR fans, it ended up being a huge hit. Many fans of NASCAR who were against it were opened up to it, or at least had to admit that the event was a success, and many casual fans, or those who didn't even watch NASCAR, watched and loved the pure curiosity aspect of it. Almost 5 million people tuned in last year to NBC, and there seems to be a lot of hype for year 2 that wasn't around for other new events that NASCAR has made in the past couple of years, say like the Clash. I think that curiosity for how it'll be without rain as well is making a lot of NASCAR fans look forward to a race that they had said in many aspects they would not look forward to. 6th up is the lone race on this list that is outside the NASCAR Cup Series with the Fall Martinsville Xfinity race. This one is a certified classic. The last 2 years have been amazing, but in general, since the Xfinity Series came back to Martinsville, the racing and the beating and banging has been amazing. Add to the fact that this is the race that is really judging fully who makes the Final Four, and you have a ton of desperation from inexperienced drivers. You have the history now. First off, the JGR Civil War between Ty Gibbs and Brandon Jones, and last year's RCR Civil War between Austin Hill and Sheldon Creed. This is usually the best race of the weekend, and it is sure to be the same thing in 2024. Entering the top 5, we have the Bristol Spring Race, and this is simply hyped up because we're back on the concrete for the first of now 2 Bristol dates. And you know, I will say this. I like the dirt a lot, but many NASCAR fans didn't. And many kind of had the old adage of you never know what you had until it's gone when it came to this race. Whether or not they show up will be the question, but this is shaping up to be SMI's version of the throwback weekend, and seeing how Darlington's version has kind of died down in hype since they moved it from the Southern 500, it could be a nice kick in the early spring that Bristol and SMI and maybe even NASCAR needed. Bristol also has been the best of the short tracks when it comes to the Cup Series package, and the trucks are sure to have a honestly pretty good race as long as it's not a wreck fest. Just missing the podium is the Iowa race weekend with their first ever Cup race. Now, this one sold out all 30,000 of the tickets the day of or around the day of the time they went up, and it has been anticipated by locals for decades. Add into the fact the hype you saw from the IndyCar weekend, and you know that this track can put on a great show and a great time for fans of all interests. So I think between the racing aspect itself as well as the local community, this has to be one of the most exciting moments of the 2024 season. Staying in the Midwest, we'll give the bronze to the Brickyard 400. Now, going back to it after a couple years on the road course, it seems like a lot of people have finally hyped up the oval and maybe appreciate what they had when they had it. And with this, it kind of fits the way that the Bristol Spring Race is, where it's probably had the most hype that this race has had in a decade, maybe decade and a half, and the TV audience and attendance audience will need to prove that hype correct. The car does race well at Pocono, which is the most similar track to Indianapolis, so there is also hope that the racing aspect can follow up the hype itself. In second, we have the Daytona 500. Of course we have the Daytona 500. It kicks off the season. Any NASCAR fan worth their salt would be saying that they are really anticipating this race. It should be in the top 5 every year, and if it's not, either A, marketing has been really bad, or B, there's a lot of crazy stuff coming. This race is honestly something that may or may not happen because of the rain, which is making people want it more than ever. And the Super Speedway package has improved a lot with the next-gen car over the years, so as long as it's not just 2 lines of train racing, I think people should probably be happy with the product that we see. And taking the top spot, the gold will go to the Coke 600. A couple years ago, I would have called you crazy for this. I felt that this race was falling off immensely, but at this point, I definitely have to amend those statements. The first 2 600s with the next-gen car have been nothing short of complete classics. They were the best race of both 2022 and 2023, and it's almost guaranteed to be that good again. There's something about Charlotte and the next-gen car, the way it is right now, that just fits perfectly. And it's really reestablished itself as a top-tier NASCAR event instead of just one that you're just hoping you get through without falling asleep. Every moment of the Coke 600 is action-packed, there is always passing, and it's probably the only race on the schedule that I can say that for. And seeing how it is the longest race too, you're going to need that action. You know what? I'm really excited. I cannot wait for May, and add into all of that the double that Kyle Larson is trying to pull off with the Indy 500 and Coke 600, you already have more storylines going into this event than any other race in NASCAR. But with that, I'm going to pass it all on to you. What races are you looking most forward to in 2024? Let me know down in the comments below. And while you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel for more great NASCAR coverage all season. And be sure to watch the NASCAR Weekly Podcast tomorrow night on Eric Estep's channel right after 500 qualifying. Until next time, have a good one.